What up, Tatum? Oh, what a great day that was, Tatum. Such a great day. I think my eyes were just bleeding watching that slow price action today. What's going on, Roger? I guess everyone's slowly tricking in today. Ever so slowly. Welcome in, welcome in. What's going on, El Lobo? Today was just, oh my god. I mean, today was one of those days where if I were to tell everyone, like, I mean, it was just day to take off. It was not even worth just trading for the most part. Yeah, you can always make money on every single day, but there's days where it's just not worth the chop. By the way, Roger, I appreciate that. Yeah, I got screwed by Amazon too, so don't worry. I got screwed pretty hard on Amazon also. It happens. It is what it is. You just gotta know what your risk is. But I mean, what I was pretty much gonna say is that you can always make money every single day, right? In this market, there's always gonna be some kind of price action. But if there was ever a day that you really just want to avoid the chop, want to avoid mental ears, today was just one of those days because you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna end up playing Amazon. It's gonna run $200. Guess what? You get in the Amazon trade, you get slaughtered just like that right off the bat, right? You don't know that it's gonna end up being a range kind of day, and then come midday, late morning, you're like, you know what? I think the market's gonna end up going up, or we're gonna see some kind of drastic price action after just a slow movement. Guess what? Market just decides to just pretty much laugh in your face and just trade it within a range, right? So that's why I say there's certain days. I think between yesterday and today, it's really just been a very slow motion kind of day, and that's where you just want to take it off. And that's why that we usually hear probably me and Avery the most probably say, we don't want to be sitting here all day because then it basically just forces you to overtrade because you're basically not going to sit there watching the slow price action. You're basically going to want to end up taking a trade, and you know that in this kind of environment where you're just trading within a range, you're going to end up making a mental error. You're going to end up making a trade where you're like, damn, I regret taking that. So today and yesterday kind of felt like that, just to give you some kind of perspective on, even from me and Avery's perspective, uh, that we end up trading so much and so frequently and taking so many different trades that it's like on days like today you just don't want to kind of be caught up looking at charts all day in this kind of range environment. All right, but I did think the range that we ended up having, the little pullbacks between yesterday today, whether it be about 100 points down on Nasdaq yesterday, about that 80 something point drop today on Nasdaq, I think it was overall healthy. So I do expect us to continue climbing higher despite the price action these past 2 days. But it's left to be seen. We'll see what the jobless claims number do tomorrow. If there's any kind of feedback in which the market doesn't like, the fact that how COVID is actually turning around the numbers, because the jobless claim numbers have gotten so low at this point. If we end up getting a reversal, I'm interested to see how the market's going to react to that. But my other assumption is that between today's price action and yesterday, it does seem like we're kind of pricing in some kind of bad news, or if this is just a healthy consolidation as it is, being the drastic movement that we had already going up. So we'll see what it is tomorrow morning. I mean, 8:30 in the morning. I'm sure the entire chat's gonna be able to tell what kind of day it's gonna be tomorrow, because I do expect a better directional move tomorrow, whether it be up or down for that matter. Because I'm not gonna be biased to say we're gonna go straight up. When end of tomorrow, come 8:30, we're gonna see the market continue to sink. We saw futures kind of show that they were gonna bleed out a little bit tonight, and that wasn't the case. Nice little recovery that we have so far. So let's end up seeing what it is. That's funny. Um, so let's see what it is tomorrow. Welcome in, by the way, everyone that joined in just a little bit a while ago here. The one time Gaston wasn't a bear. Gaston, wait, are you still a bear actually, Gaston? I want to know this one. Imagine he actually says he's a bull and then we continue to just go south. That would be hilarious. He usually ends up trying to reverse everybody here in chat, but it's hilarious. But I'll get started here so we can go through the tickers real quick that ended up showing up today. Some of them I'll show you actually on a larger time frame for those alerts that actually haven't played out yet. But I guess we could start out right quick here with Amazon. Amazon was pretty much one. We didn't get all the flow that we had for the past 2 days. I can even say for the past 2 weeks, going out to those 3,500, 3,600 calls. And we just continued to decelerate pretty much. going down towards support. I do think that we actually hit support pretty much today for the most part. I wanted to see us hold 3370. That was the level that I wanted to see us hold to go back north. But intraday here, we had a nice little move that they ended up giving us a nice little unusual right around 218. They gave us a 3390 strike and they hit it right around 3890. And if you see where we ended up peaking, right around 3390 is where we ended up peaking. So if you got in on any kind of dip, and that's when I usually end up saying, try to set a low balling order, try to get a dip. That was where you would have got a quick 10% because you would have tried to get filled under that 3389 from where they ended up entering. And that would have been a beautiful quick 10-15% that you could have gained off of the unusual. So that was just playing it in that sense. But that was a nice little chop that you had that you could have got the dip entry and ride it right back up to get a quick 10% and treat it like a rapid in this case. All right. So that was the one that ended up paying out. Real quick on also on Boeing. I know that we don't like Boeing, and I think that goes across the board here. I think the entire chat can agree that I don't think anyone particularly likes Boeing here. The only thing that's a little bit intriguing in terms of what they're looking at is that one, they gave themselves until next week, which is a good sign. The other thing is that they did go out on the money, so they hit a 207.50 strike, and current price at the point was 204.12, which is actually lower now at this time. And then the other thing is that they didn't pretty much drop under 100K. It's 160K of premium that they put in there, despite that TFC score. So what I'm particularly looking on this one, and I'm not gonna necessarily hold this and swing it, but I will play it the day that I end up seeing this start to push, and it'll likely be just a day trade. Tatum, I think the entire chat pretty much echoes that sentiment. But if it ends up pushing and we can get a move towards this gap fill, I will definitely be there for a day trade only. I don't plan on swinging that at all. But if we get a nice push towards this gap fill, I'll definitely be there, and we'll see what it ends up doing into that gap fill, and that'll likely be a quick in and out. You definitely want to treat this one like a rapid, because imagine you definitely do not want to be caught holding Boeing when this is like known for a pump and dump scenario. Chris, Chris, you're hilarious. But remember, I'm pretty much just outlining this one primarily for the gap. That's it. And it will likely be a day trade. So I'm sure you're going to hear me and Avery probably look at it. It's going to be one day between now and next week where we say, oh, damn, Boeing actually looks pretty nice. It looks a little perky. And we're probably going to say we're getting in for a day trade. And that'll likely be it and move on. All right. So just something to keep in the back of your mind, though. If you see Boeing start to pump on a particular day where tech is continuing to bleed, maybe, just keep it on your back of your mind. That's all I would say. All right. But moving on from all that, the way that's hilarious. All right, another one that I was looking at here was BIIB. I actually stepped out just to literally eat lunch, and what do you notice? You actually missed a lot of things. And I came back, and this massive spike just came out of nowhere off of news with BIB and, if I'm not mistaken, Sony, and that was just a beautiful one. But outlining the unusual that they hit, if you caught this one pretty much while I was gone, that was just a beautiful one. I think Tatum and Avery were talking about it when it started popping. But the unusual was pretty beautiful. They hit it at 259. So you had more of an opportunity to get that at 259, maybe even lower, all the way down to about 252 because of how drastic the price action was. And that ended up hitting a peak of 265. So that was a beautiful one. If you ended up trying to get into this one, I know that when there's volatile names, and I typically usually say do not chase, because you know when you chase and you see these massive spikes, that premiums are usually elevated. So I can understand you not wanting to get into it, but for those of you that are risk takers, gamblers, yes, if you ended up setting a low balling order on this one, that would have been a quick move, and that would have been a quick in and out, and I'm pretty sure that was way more than 10% that you got out of this one. All right, so that was just pretty much a day trade. Uh, Looking at it in particular, they went at the money. Then went same week expiration, they put in over 100K. When I usually see more than 100K, I tend to usually like it a lot more when they go same week expiration. They usually have to coincide for me. That's usually what I want to say is like an A setup, not necessarily A plus here because they didn't go particularly far out of the money. They went basically at the money. So it would have been one I probably would have maybe got one contract on this just to play for fun because of how volatile it was, and I know that premiums are going to be jacked once I saw that first initial candle go right up, and that's really a no bueno for me. I really don't like it when I see premiums start to get jacked because if you're the last one holding that bag when it reverses hard on you, that will be a fat L that you're taking. All right. But moving on, another one that caught my eye, and I'm pretty sure you heard us talking about it, and I'm pretty sure I had to go out to a larger time frame. You probably go out to the weekly. Let me see. There we go. I got it out to the weekly. Perfect. So we go to the weekly here on now. This was one that I was mentioning to Tom as well, because the first thing that caught my attention was the expiration that they ended up getting. And if you notice, the expirations for February 4th, this actually covers for earnings. So that was one thing that I didn't particularly wasn't fond of, trying to get an entry and swinging. There may be a potential run up into the earnings. It's just not something that I'm willing to gamble on to really just swing this early. So if I do see it start to run, this will be like a Boeing kind of scenario. I will be in there for a day trade, particularly if I see it start to accelerate. But I'm not too fond of actually holding it and swinging it. But I do like the megaphone action it has. You do have a little bit of a pretty much a trend break right here from this downtrend, which I'll outline in green here. As you can see, we ended up breaking that downtrend, so that's also a good sign. We definitely want to see a nice little continuation out of that going into tomorrow, a full daily candle. Well, this is a weekly candle. So I will close out the week here and then probably reassess next week, but you definitely want to see this candle close above that downtrend. All right. So I'll keep an eye on it. It's not something that I want to hold again and swing, particularly knowing that this is primarily looking like an earnings bet. That's what I will say, so that you understand that. But it is a high confidence play in which you see how high that TFC score is. They did go far out of the money, which I particularly like because it does show a lot more confidence in which how much they're risking. And then you also see the premium they put at risk. They put over 100K on one of those contracts, and they put 300K plus on the other contract. So that I am fond of that. I may end up gambling on that earnings. Just depends on the price action from here until then. But I will definitely keep it on the back of my mind for a day trade, if even if I don't end up playing the earnings for a lotto. All right. Moving on, another one was Google here. This one was a little bit awkward. I wasn't expecting this too much, and I think it looks better off of the daily. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks better off the daily here. But a nice little wedge that you could say off the daily here. They did go out of the money. That's a plus. I do like that a lot. Current price at the time was 29.18. So you did get a nice little bounce from there. I believe Mamba actually took this one when he saw it. So if you ended up taking this with Mamba, I'm not sure if he announced his entry or not. But if you got it from 218, that was a nice, beautiful bounce up to 29.30. So about a good $12 bounce from that call out. That was a beautiful one. But I do like it that they gave themselves a little bit more than just this week expiration. I would have liked it to be this week because I would have showed a lot more aggression. But they gave themselves until next week. We'll see what it ends up doing. I do like the fact that it's also 100K plus, so that's also another good sign. So this is one that you definitely want to keep an eye out going on to tomorrow. If market is green, we can start to see this one really start to push, and that'll be one that you want to end up day trading. All right. Moving on, another one was also someone's calling me for Disney Leaps in chat. Well, I know Avery already has Disney Leaps, by the way, but I'll address that after. Other one was IBB. I believe Tom was mentioning something about this, if I'm not mistaken. But it ended up looking pretty nice. The only thing I don't like about this, I'm actually no, it was puts that they actually did. I thought it was calls. Take that back. So I do like this one actually. I didn't take a position just yet. But the one thing is that they ended up rejecting the downtrend, as you would have expected us to break that downtrend. It ended up rejecting, so that's why they ended up taking a position. That's why it was. So they got those puts right at 151.73. So they got it right on the next week down after the rejection, and they're ending up holding it and giving themselves about 3 weeks in time. So that's a good thing. They give us about 3 weeks in time. Probably end up looking probably to test the lows here in the near future here. That would be about another $9 drop potentially if this ends up continuing on the downtrend. And it is over 100K in premium. So I do like that. They are out of the money. So this does have pretty much my criteria that I would like out of the money. Short, not necessarily short, but they give us about 3 weeks of expiration. I'm not against that. But what I do like is how cheap this contract is. So those of you that you see like the Google Play, that's about $1,000 contract. This is one that I do particularly like, especially for those of you with smaller account sizes. It's a 200 and something dollar, $218 fill that they got. So that was a beautiful one. If you have small accounts, this is one that I do particularly like. They ended up rejecting that downtrend resistance. So that's what you wanted to see. You wanted to see that rejection before you ended up getting in that entry. And that's exactly why they ended up taking. They saw that wick reject, and the next candle closed below it. So that's a good one. I do like it, especially for those small accounts. Moving on, another one was XBI. Let me see what time frame we're looking at on this one. Was it a weekly maybe? Yes, it was a weekly. All right, so looking at this one also on a weekly here. This one was a little bit, they gave us a week less on this one. So we have about 2 weeks and some change on this one. Uh, Other thing was that they went 200K plus on the premium. That's a good sign as well. And then the other factor is that they went pretty far on the money. They went to 105 strike, and current price that they bought was 112. So I do like that a lot. That literally meets all the criteria, being far out of the money. Also, the amount that they put on it, and depending upon the expiration. I particularly don't like to swing trade those positions that are more than 3 weeks. So this one kind of fits in my criteria that I personally like. And also the other factor is that this one's more suitable to smaller accounts as well, because it is only $1.13 for each of those contracts. So definitely a good one for the smaller accounts. And as you see right now, it ended up bouncing right off of the support that I'm looking at. But I would expect this to retest that support. Once it gets right back under 10, under 107, it's likely going to be a real flush, and we'll likely see this one come down to about 99. And then yeah, 99, and the next support that I am looking at is around 94 to 95. So we'll see how it ends up playing out, but I do like the spot they ended up getting in. They looked at that reversal right down towards the support level, and we'll see how it continues once it hits that 107 mark, as that looks to be a critical support level. All right, moving on. Other one was IYR. This one's a real estate ETF, and they also did hit puts on this one. What I actually liked about this one when I looked at it after the fact, because I didn't look at it right away, when I heard it was a real estate ETF, I kind of ignored it to a degree, which I shouldn't have. But what I do like is that you hit a resistance, and you're right near the resistance. So they're basically expecting this to reject the resistance and to come right back down. So that's what they're looking at. Now, looking at that criteria, one, they did go out of the money. So it's a 112 strike, they hit it at 115. Second criteria is that they give themselves 3 weeks of time, which is usually my limit for when I want to swing something. And then the third criteria is that they end up giving themselves over 100K in the premium. So that literally hit all my criteria, and of course the TFC score is just a bonus for me. It's over that 60% threshold that I like. So I do like this play a lot. It may end up giving me that nice push going into tomorrow, and that'll likely be where you get a lower entry than the buyer. So I would take a position on this one. I also like how cheap this one is relatively. 89 cents for a pop. That's really cheap. You get about 4 or 5 of those. That's about $500, and that could easily be a nice little flip for those of you with smaller accounts. So definitely look into this one for particularly for a swing. I do like this one right into that resistance, and of course you want to have your stop loss if it ends up breaking above the resistance. All right. Other one, which was this was actually a sleeper for me, because I looked at this one not that long ago, and I actually thought that it was gonna the chart looked amazing, and once I saw it that it came out on the flow alerts, I was like, wow, what a surprise. And I think it looks better off the monthly. Yeah, it looks better off the monthly. So looking at the monthly here, you see a nice little falling wedge action. That was what I actually had charted when I was looking at it. I did have an alert set from earlier, but it didn't end up getting to that alert as fast as I expected. I want to see it get a break over that 78.95 level. It's just been moving a little bit more slower than I expected, because we know that Galid is more of a slower mover. So this is more particularly of a swing trade, in my opinion. But looking at the criteria here, they did go just a bit out of the money. I want to say it's close enough to at the money, but it's not a bad position. They went to 75 strike, and current price at the time of buy was 73.25. So I do like that. They give themselves 2 weeks of time, which to me is just perfect, ideal for a swing. And then how cheap it is also, it's only a 55-cent contract. So that's just a beautiful one. You're playing it right up to the resistance here of this falling wedge right into about 75, which is where the strike is that they have. And then you're going to look to see if it ends up breaking the resistance. If it ends up breaking that resistance, I would end up holding it even longer, because then that'll be a beautiful continuation that you'll likely see out of this breakout, given the fact that it looks more like a monthly breakout, not just a weekly breakout or daily. So I do like this one a lot, and the fact that how cheap these contracts were, I literally took those right when I saw it when it came out. So that was a beautiful one. That'll be a nice little swing, and we'll see how it is. I'll address it later. Probably by the end of the week, I'll see where it is at that point. All right. Now looking at this one, this Apple was pretty much a day trade type scenario here. These were the rapids. If I look into the daily here, and I think I actually gave out a little bit of a caution sign on this one. When I saw this Apple rapid come out, I gave out a caution on this one. I wasn't too much of a fan, and primarily because of the fact of market conditions. So if you notice the little green box right here, you see where the buyer stepped in, but you see how close it was to the high of the day. That was literally what the caution was there. I pretty much echoed that sentiment on live when I saw it, and I was like, try to be cautious, primarily because of market sentiment and because it was approaching resistance that I felt. So, if you got a low ball order, that was just beautiful because then you followed pretty much what I normally do is get a low ball order, take the wick right back up, maybe get your quick 8 to 10% and be out. Those of you that were trying to hold or you got pretty much a bad fill, then yes, you probably got hurt because you see that aftermath. It literally flushed right back down after that. So this one was very crucial in terms of your entry point. Otherwise, it probably disappointed you very much. All right. Another one was Tesla. Was this one actually a rapid? I don't particularly remember if this is rapid or not. Yeah, it was a rapid. This one was a rapid here. I do see where they actually got in here. This was a really bad rapid that came out right around 9:38. They were trying to get a nice little reversal here. It looks like they were trying to time that, but it didn't end up working out. So this ended up flushing right away, and you took probably a little bit of a fat L. Depending on how you got in, maybe if you got in on the bottom of the wick here and you took the next wick up, like I would normally say, you probably got your close enough to 8 to 10%. But this one was really bad, just the timing overall with the market movement is market price action. This was pretty much a failure in my estimation because you had to be literally your entry had to be textbook low ball order to get this right back up and get out quickly with your 8 to 10%. So this is when you see when market conditions are pretty much going against those rapids. That's when you really want to be cautious. All right. And then the last one here is just the the STX. This is the last one here, and I know that I actually was looking at this one. It was a quick little mover. I actually liked it because one, it was out of the money. They gave themselves 3 weeks of time on this expiration. It was literally at my threshold of my minimum, what I usually like to see, 100K, and then that TFC score was literally just a bonus. But they hit it at 114. You saw it peak all the way up to about 116.35. So that was a beautiful, quick little scalp. You got your quick 10% at the minimum off of that move. All right. But that was all for the alerts today. I mean, today's price action was just brutal. You probably saw me and Avery probably complaining all day, literally, like it's just like scraping paint because of how much of a range you're in, especially when you're trying to. We particularly like to look for bigger moves, bigger potential swings, and there was just nothing there today. The direction of the market also was a little bit stagnant for us. As much as we're bullish, you know, having 2 red days and then having data tomorrow morning, a little bit skeptical. So I'm very light on what my swings are tonight. We'll see what the market wants to do tomorrow. Hopefully, it's a nice bright green day. Uh, I mean, we'll probably likely watch the same tickers that we normally watch: the Tesla, the Amazons, the Apples, and to continue the Santa rally. So we'll see what those end up doing tomorrow morning. We'll be able to call out the price action on that. But other than that, I'm just hoping for a better directional move tomorrow. That's probably the biggest thing. Is I want to see a better directional move on the market, not just staying within this little tight range that we have. All right. I'm gonna look at those two tickers real quick, and I'm gonna call it a night here. I'm gonna look at Disney and I'll look at Target for you guys. So let me look at them real quick, and then we'll call it a night. And someone in chat is messaging me about Roku. I think I covered Roku last night, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I covered Roku. But let me look at Disney real quick. And first thing off the bat here, and I'll probably go to the weekly because it'll look a lot more cleaner for you guys to notice. So first thing I have here is, and yeah, you won't see it particularly, why I have that level. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'll probably try to expand it as much as I can here. Alright. the candle wick should look at much clearer here. But I end up having it right here where the prior gap fill was. That's what I'm looking at. I do have an alert set here over 157. That's the level that I'm particularly watching. I haven't gotten an entry on Disney yet. I mean, I expect it to end up testing 157, and then that'll be the point of where it's either gonna be a bull, and it's gonna cross over, and it's gonna go right into the gap fill that you see here on over to the right. We're gonna get that nice little push right over 167, or we're gonna end up rejecting this 157 level, and it's gonna come right back down. That's why I'm a little bit more iffy. I mean, given the fact that Avery got a pretty low entry, if I'm not mistaken, kudos to him, and I know that he averaged down at some point, so he ended up getting in really low. It's just that I'm not convinced that this is a full reversal yet because of the fact that it has been very stagnant on this reversal so far. So it to me it just feels like a little bit of an ABC action going up as it's pretty much just nosedive, but there's no clear direction in terms of whether bulls have control or bears have control. Until I see it get back over 157, I won't feel comfortable getting into a position here. So otherwise, right now, you're playing it to 157 and you want to see whether it rejects there or if you end up breaking over. All right. So that's literally my level in the sand right here is 157. You get back over 157, you hold that and you ride it right into the gap fill, right over that 163 level. All right, 164 particularly. So let's see if that ends up holding or not. But key level 157. All right. Other one someone mentioned was Target. Looking at this one, and it looks like I actually looked at this before. Let me see. Does it look better off the daily? Yeah, it looks better off the daily. So looking at this one off the daily here, you have a nice little trend break that it looks like. You broke that little bit of a downtrend. You're getting that little bit of a push here. I do have a level that I'm watching here, watching this one over 232. And then the level that I want to end up seeing it ultimately hit, which will be my supply zone here, will be between 236.69 and also getting into 240, 238. So 236 to 238, that's where my supply zone is. We'll see if it ends up getting there. But I definitely want to see it get over this level here, over that 232. And that will be the level where I end up potentially scalping it into the supply zone. I don't necessarily feel so comfortable just yet because what may end up happening here is that you get one more little push and then likely a retest of the downtrend break. So that's something that you should be cautious about. If we end up getting a retest of the downtrend break, I may end up also taking a position at that point. But I would wait for it to either retest on the downtrend or either break over 232. That'll be the two scenarios where I get a position. All right. Right now you're in no man's land right here because you're going to either go up to get a push towards 232 and you get right into the supply zone, or you're going to end up getting a retest of the downtrend break and then you'll get that follow through to the upside. So those are the two scenarios you're going to see end up happening with Target. All right. And just real quick, someone mentioned Roku. I'll literally just show you what my chart was because I don't think anything's really changed. And I think it looked better off the daily. Yeah, it looks better off the daily. You're literally still in no man's land. And I mean literally no man's land. You haven't barely moved. You still haven't broken your downtrend resistance and you're literally flirting with it as of yesterday. But now it looks like you're coming back down just a little bit more. If I'm inclined to say where we're going, we're likely retesting 221 before you get any kind of upward price action. So that's what I'm inclined to say off of the move that we got right now. You're going to retest 221, and then at 221, then we'll see if we get a reversal to retest the resistance. But if it breaks below 221, I would be scared. All right. So other than that, that's what I'll call it a night here. Uh, I will say though before I go, I mean the amount of flow that's been coming in is a little bit. I know pretty much what I would say is that it's fooling to the eyes, is because they've been hitting calls on Roku, they've been hitting calls on Amazon. We see that repeatedly, and the price action has not been what the flow is telling you. All right. So for those of you that are a little bit more inexperienced, those of you that you're kind of depending on looking at the flow and it's like a little bit more confusing to the mind. Right now, just be a little bit cautious of what the sizes that you're going with positions. Wait for a breakout. Wait for probably me or Avery to really say, look, this is really going here. This is going there. And you pretty much hear us on live right now is that we're just in a range. You don't want to load the boat pretty much in a full position size. And then you're looking at flow and you're pretty much looking at us to say, but the stock's not doing anything. Prime example, Roku. The past what 3 4 days they've been hitting Roku like nonstop, but if you notice, it has not broken a downtrend at all. So that's the bigger picture right there. Okay. So until it ends up breaking that resistance, for me personally, I'm not gonna touch that at all. Right. Same thing with Amazon right now is that we haven't gotten that price action where we're back over the 34.40 level. So that would be a no touch zone right now. If you end up taking that position, then you end up having to know what the risk is. Okay. So that's what I want to pretty much just say is looking for your defined resistance levels as it is with Roku and correlating that against what the flow is telling you. They're telling you they're buying 250 calls, but this is literally in no man's land right now still. So that's the thing about following buyers just blindly. Okay, that's why I just wanted to put out there for you guys. So I don't want you guys to think that um, all the alerts that you're seeing, all the flow that's coming through, it just looks like crap. All right, it's not that way. You just have a lot of buyers that are just looking and pretty much hoping that they end up seeing the reversal, or maybe indeed that there's news that maybe a smaller fish that we don't know about. All right. But I'll leave you with that. We'll call it a night. We'll see what tomorrow's price action is. I'm just hoping for a better direction tomorrow rather than getting in this range yet again tomorrow. And we'll see what ends up happening, all right? But I'll leave you guys with that. I'll see you guys in the morning. First thing in the morning on live. And you guys have a good night, all right?